Hi everyone, my name is Lily, and I have a complicated relationship with my mom. She's a peculiar one. She doesn't want to understand me at all. I have no idea how long this will last, but my patience is running out. I remember when I was a kid, my mother and I went to visit my grandmother, her mother. They had a fight there, both of them, and my mother grabbed me by the hand and took me home. Since she was angry, I already knew that she was going to take it out on me. My father would usually go to his room at such times and watch TV, and it was all down to me alone. As soon as we entered the house, I forgot to wipe my shoes from the dirt on the soles. I walked into the corridor on autopilot, and immediately I got a smack from behind. "Didn't I tell you to wipe your shoes?" "Sorry, Mom, I forgot. Don't hit me. Can't you just tell me not to do it? I forgot." "What did you say? Are you telling me what to do?" "I'm just asking you." But before I could finish, I was slapped in the face. I cried and ran to my father, but he just turned away on the bed, and that was it. I went to my room. An hour later, my mother came to me. She asked if I had calmed down, and I asked her the same thing. She instantly freaked out. "Have you lost all respect?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, Lily, I was calm until you asked me." "Mom, stop it. You're scaring me." She walked out, slamming the door loudly. And so it was for all those years until my father's nerve failed. He walked out on us, though maybe more on her. I remember that day like it was yesterday. They were fighting a lot. My dad called her crazy and deranged, and she sent him away, threw stuff out on the balcony, and smashed some stuff, like his cell phone. After 2 days of violent yelling in the house, I almost lost my mind. And then she went quiet. She wouldn't talk to me at all. She was kind of aggressive. Even more so than before. I came home from school to tell her that a matinee was coming up and she had to come as a parent. Mom was lying with her back to me on the bed as I spoke to her. Then she slowly turned around and sat on the bed and said, "You got me." "What?" "What did you hear? It's because of you that my life didn't work out. Because of you, Father left. Because of you, everything is ruined. Are you happy?" "Mom, what are you talking about? It's not because of me." "It's because of you. It's all because of you. I hate you. Get out." I covered my face with my hands and ran away. Since then, I've been cold toward her too, and I hardly ever talk to her or even look in her direction. My grades dropped dramatically. I had no one to tutor me. My father would visit me from time to time at school, feed me, and then leave. He didn't even ask about my mother and didn't even tell me anything about himself. After a year, my mother came up to me and took my diary and was shocked by my grades. She started yelling, saying that I was a stupid, talentless creature, and then hit me in the face with it. I got mad, saying she had no right to do that because she was no better than me. And that night, I was on my knees on the wooden floor for about 2 hours until I was bruised. I withdrew into myself even more. I didn't have any friends left. Even my classmates wouldn't talk to me. 6 months later, I met some guys who accepted me. They were punks. We were into that culture together. I started dressing all in black, tried alcohol, smoking, and other things. I got sucked into it. And I didn't like my past lifestyle anymore because there was this new one. I gave up on school altogether, stopped going. Meanwhile, the gap between me and my mother widened. Then I got a boyfriend, Noah. He was also from my social circle. My mom, when she saw him for the first time, blew her mind. It was a terrible fight. I didn't even have time to say goodbye to Noah before she started yelling. "Who are you? Get away from my daughter. I'll report you to the police." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm dating your daughter. We're serious." "Serious? She's 16! How do you know you're serious? You're abusing a minor. Get out. I said get out." "Mom, stop it!" "And you go home." Noah left. I entered the house angry, and from the threshold demanded an explanation. But Mom said that I was too stupid to understand her. Well, if that's the case, then I'm out of here. "And where will you live? On the street? With Noah? What is he? A thief? A drug dealer?" "You only think bad things about people, but not everyone is like you." "You'll grow up and understand me." "I won't, and you'll never understand me either." "Then get out of here and come back in a day." So I packed my things and left. Noah welcomed me into his poor little apartment, which he had inherited from his father who'd passed. His mother had left them a long time ago too. He was working and supporting himself. Despite everything he was going through, he still supported me. I didn't know you had such a strict mom. She's not strict, she's just mean. Or that. Look, I won't be here long. I'll figure something out later. I'm not chasing you away. I can't even cook, and I'm embarrassed to be living on your back. I would do anything to provide for us. Noah was a really nice guy, and even though we led such a rambunctious lifestyle, it didn't say anything about what we were really like. After 5 years of us living together, a lot has changed. First, Noah and I managed to get married. We had a little party to celebrate. My already husband got another job, and at the same time, he went to college as a part-time student. His grandmother helped us a lot. She gave us our own house, bigger and more spacious, while she went off to travel with a friend. We were grateful, especially considering my situation. Noah and I were already expecting the birth of our daughter. And that day, as I was on my way to the hospital for a checkup, I saw a familiar silhouette on the way. It was my mother. She stood looking in my direction for a long time, and then she dropped the package from her hands. Honestly, tears came into my eyes. I slowly walked over to her and stood a meter away from her. I could barely stop myself from hugging her. She stood there looking at me, and I started the conversation first. "Hi, Mom." She was quiet and just looked at my belly. "Noah and I are going to be parents, and you're going to be a grandmother. Can you imagine? We're having a girl. Are you excited?" "Are you going to have a baby with that criminal? How do you even survive?" "Mom, did you think I was dead? Can't you be happy for me in some century?" "Happy? About what? The daughter of a prostitute who got knocked up by who knows what." "We're married, Mom. Here's the ring. If you were a normal mother, you'd be happy for me." "If you hadn't gone to him and left me alone, you wouldn't be knocked up." "Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you so aggressive? What have I ever done to you?" "Give birth to your daughter. I hope she'll be as problematic as you are." "What are you talking about? Ugh, I shouldn't have come up to you. I was hoping you'd be happy for me." "I have nothing to be happy about. And yes, I don't acknowledge the baby. I don't believe you're married. You didn't even invite me." "Now I'm sure I didn't invite you for nothing." "And where do you live? A dump?" "I never want to see you again. Go on, get out of here." I walked out of there frustrated. I took a couple of steps and my stomach began to hurt. I grabbed it and sat on the ground and started screaming for help. People were all around me. Someone yelled, "Aren't you her mom? Do something, she's sick." But my mom just looked at me and left. The ambulance came for me and I gave birth that evening. The birth turned out to be a little premature. Noah was very angry when he found out about my meeting with my mom and made me promise that I would never talk to her again. And I think that was the right decision. A year has passed since then. Our daughter has grown up. Noah also works, started making even more money, and I became a good mom. I made a promise to myself not to be like my mother. I think I'm making it work. What? Did you think that the end of the story would be happier? That my mother would settle down and come around? No, at least not now. Life happens, people learn things. My mother never understood me, but I'm learning to understand my daughter, and that's great. I let go of all my anger. Let her live her life the way she wants. I can't be responsible for her feelings, but I can control mine. So I chose the love of family. The rest is not important to me. On the other hand, if she hadn't driven me away then, I wouldn't be living the way I am now, with my family, so I don't regret anything. What would you have done if you were me? Would you seek reconciliation with your mother? And for what?
Hello everyone, my name is Carl. I am a full 15 years old. My father is the president of a very large company in the United States. Our family is billionaires, but I work as a waiter. Do you want to know why? Now I'll tell you everything, and while you listen, watch and do not forget to immediately subscribe to this channel. Let's start with the fact that when I was born, we were poor. Yes, it is hard to believe. Now it is customary to think that if you are poor, you will never achieve anything. But my father is the best example of what it is possible to earn yourself, and he did it. When he and my mother got married, they had nothing. No place to live, no car. And the day came when it was necessary to pay the bills, including paying for the apartment. There was nothing. My mother had a little me. She could not go to work. Then my father, desperate, went out on the street and just went to shops and cafes. offering the services of a cleaner, a salesman, yes, anyone. He did not disdain work, and his mother respected him for it. That day he came back late at night, but managed to earn money, and although Dad was terribly tired, he always found time to play with me. So they lived for several years, until one day, Dad came as a cleaner in a large company. He was mopping the floors after the directors' meeting. One of the men kicked Dad's mop and called him a laborer. My father was a proud man, but with a brain. He could have hit him hard, but he knew he had a family to feed, so he straightened up and said something to the man that the others didn't even comment on. Dad told that man that the project they were working on would fail just because its concept was built wrong. They were going to build houses for the poor and sell them. Dad himself lived in such conditions and knew perfectly well what amenities were really needed. The guy just laughed and said he wasn't going to listen to the janitor's opinion. The idea of the project is beautiful, Gillies, that it is led by a person who does not understand and is not educated, my father said. He turned on Dad. He was hurt in front of his supervisor, and that offended him the most. Then the most important director intervened. He reassured his subordinate, then turned to his father. He asked him a couple of questions, and Dad answered. He just said his opinion and gave a couple of free tips. The director asked why my father worked as a cleaner if he was good at business. Then Dad said that a real businessman does not disdain any dirty work. It's hard to believe, but my father was put on probation after the dialogue. That subordinate was angry. He was furious. The very next day, my father came to train. He immediately showed himself. The internship lasted 3 long months, but it was paid. This money was enough for a living. After a while, Dad was hired for a long and hard work. It was a holiday for our family. Over the years, my father rose higher and higher. I grew up, we already bought our own house, 2 cars, and my mother gave birth to another daughter, my sister. And then we just got rich, until my father started running the company himself, which he came to as a cleaner. Despite the money, connections, and position, Mariana and I, my little sister, were brought up simply, without being tied to money. If you need money, go to work, Dad would say. Of course, we didn't need anything. We ate, we went to great schools, we had everything. But if I needed my own money, my father sent me to work. So in the summer, I worked part-time with neighbors, and then with this money, my friends and I went camping or went to parties. It didn't bother me that I was working. However, many people around were outraged and considered my father's upbringing ruthless. He asked them to mind their own business. I didn't like working at first. At first, I just wanted to ask my mother for money. She gave it to me secretly, until my father noticed. He strictly forbade spoiling Mariana and me, and my little sister was offended with my father, and so was I. And once he came home earlier than usual. He sat me down at the table and said that there was an important conversation. Dad then explained that he could no longer support us and that everything we had would have to be sold. My mother almost had a heart attack. She was very worried, and only asked what to do now. My father replied that now it was time for me to help him. I also had to earn money. That day I could hardly sleep, because I could not believe that we were now poor. I suddenly remembered again that feeling when every cent counts, when it is necessary to save everything, wait for wages, and sometimes go to bed hungry. I felt sick. I saw my mother's condition, and felt sorry for her. And now we had Mariana, who had never understood what it meant to sleep on the floor in cheap apartments. I pulled myself together and made a plan of action. I understood that since I was a man, I had to take care of my family. My father did everything he could. I came to school, sat out classes, and then quickly ran to a cafe near the house and got a part-time job there. The receptionist was surprised. He didn't understand why I was working. I didn't want to explain for a long time. I just said that we needed money. He accepted me with no work experience and started the same day. It was hard. That night I came home exhausted, tired, and hungry. I ate quickly, did my homework, and went to bed. The next day, I was back at work after school. So 2 months have passed. I gave my entire salary to my parents and kept a small part for myself. My father and mother were proud of me, and I knew I was doing the right thing. Christmas was coming. I studied well, and so I finished my studies before the winter break with good results. Christmas morning began with unexpected surprises. Mom and Dad came into my room and handed me a gift box. There were car keys. I did not immediately understand what this means, and Dad said, "You deserve a gift. Now I see that you are my son and a worthy man." I didn't know what was going on. Then my parents took me outside, where a car was waiting for me. In all the excitement, I almost choked. I bombarded my parents with questions about where the money came from, and when we went home, Dad admitted that he had invented the bankruptcy situation. I wondered why, and then my father said his favorite phrase: "A real businessman does not disdain dirty work." At that moment, I was filled with a sense of joy and pride in myself at the same time. I didn't let the family down. It was important. I accepted the gift, and my father said that I could quit my job for the duration of my studies. But I was so used to making money that I said I'd work for a while. Another year has passed since then. I still work in that cafe as a waiter, and I like my job. People around me no longer laugh at me. They show respect. Now I go to work by car, and I divide my salary for the needs of my home and family. I think I'm doing everything right. What do you think? Write your opinion in the comments, and do not forget to put likes.